I talk about algos being ones and zeros. They're machines, yeah, but they're still programmed by people, and since that's the case, they can be predictable when you know where to look for them. Hey there, John Henry here, Slingshot Futures Trading Group, SSFTG. I hope your trading has been going well so far this week. Before we kick off, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the new content coming out almost every day. Today, I want to talk about one of my favorite areas of interest in the market, algo cluster points. If you want to see how we use these in real time, you can register for a 1-week free trial in our VIP live trade room. You can hang out with me and the rest of the VIPs from 9 a.m. until lunchtime, usually around 11:30. So, algo cluster points. These are areas where all of the zeros flip to ones and all of the ones flip to zeros, etc. Effectively, when we look at how an algo operates and works and all of that, generally speaking, algos are programmed to be 2-to-1, 3-to-1 type situations. They rarely ever do much with scalps at like the half-to-ones, but if they are, it's usually balancing acts, like buying in, selling out, buying in, selling out, until they finally get the run to their overall target or they're proven wrong. But as far as where the algos will begin to strike, well, that's something that we can actually find out relatively frequently. And that is all based on risk-reward. Now, one of the tools that I have is my good old Fibonacci tool. I use this for literally everything. But one of the things that I use it for is measuring. Let me narrow this down a little bit here so we can see what's going on. So when I have my Fibonacci tool, the bottom of the tool is at 0 and the top of the tool is at 100. First, we have the -50 and the -100. That is the half-to-1 and 1-to-1 scalpers targets. Those are generally where scalpers are gunning for. But then we also have the swing targets at 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 5-to-1, and 7-to-1. I don't generally use even numbers because the market doesn't seem to either. So I don't really pay attention to them. They seem to follow the odds. Whatever it is, I'll go along with it. But for that case, this is how I utilize the Fibonacci tool to measure where their likely objectives are, and it's just my general measurement tool. So let's take this into a real example with the markets that we can actually utilize. So the market is obviously in a bear trend working its way lower. There's no questioning that the sellers are working their way down, and even when the market does correct up, it does tend to work its way back lower. If we're following along with the swings, we had a previous major swing. There was one right here, but that was trapped, and that moved that swing just up to here instead. So now we've got the next swing. We break down to a new low. We've got the next swing until we finally reverse trends, at least in the short term. But we know that the sellers want to go along with this continuation phase. So where are they going to put their stops? Well, we've got the most recent confirmed swing, which would be here, or the ultimate swing, which would be up here. Most traders aren't going to want to risk a huge amount, so in terms of the stop location, this last swing high would be the first zone of interest. Now, what we can do here is get that first click, and that's going to be our stop location on the Fibonacci tool, and then we're going to go forward down to where we have our targets lining up. So if we go down here a little bit further, and keep your eyes on the targets, not where my mouse is, but down at the bottom where the green dashed line is, those are our 3-to-1, 2-to-1 targets. The first green line is 2-to-1, the second is 3. So we want to get the 2-to-1s in a location that would make sense to take a target. So let's just put it right here as an example. That would put our target inside of the low here, inside these lows. It's inside of the overall cluster of support, and it's generally a nice zone of interest to see a target. So when the market comes back up, we have to ask ourselves, do we see responsiveness at this level? Because this is exactly where the sellers now have to come in at. We didn't know where they wanted to come in at, but if they want their stop above this high and they want a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1, this is that zone that they're going to be working with. Now, we can create a zone that I like to call a hot pocket, if you will, and we can use this with the 2-to-1s and the 3-to-1s. We know that the 2-to-1s are going to be interested to the downside here, and if we use the same tool and creep it up, we want our 3-to-1s right in the same area with the same mentality, and we can draw a box around the new entry point to where it is here. And this will give us our hot pocket of interest. This is the zone where sellers are going to be trying to pressure back down because they have favorable risk-reward. If we see responsiveness here, chances are they're going to be trying to push down to get their targets. And sure enough, they did rotate down, and eventually they got their targets down at the lows. Now, we can do this for the longs or the shorts. It doesn't matter just because we have a downtrend. Yes, that does make it a little bit easier, but this is universal on both sides because algos are, again, ones and zeros. All we really have to do is find a major swing. And as an example, if a long wanted to come in here, even on a crazy bearish day, and we have this whole move up, where would they need to start getting in to get their targets in a favorable location? Well, to get their targets in a favorable location, again, looking at the target line, I would love to see a target inside those 3 swings or so and get it inside the high closes, the opens, get away from all of that mess. And at the worst, we could even park it right about there on the highest close point just to make it the worst case possible. So that tells us exactly where the top of our 2-to-1 hot pocket is. It's right there. That's going to be the zone of interest that we're going to first narrow in on. Then we can go down and find our 3-to-1 with the exact same way. Go down to the top close. It won't let me get it exact because it's 3-to-1. That's as close as I can get it. That's going to be the zone of interest, so we'll draw a box around this area. And this will be our bullish hot pocket. And we can see, obviously, the market responded very well off it, even though it was in the middle of a bear trend. And this is something that happens over and over and over again because algos, once you know where to hunt for them, begin to get pretty repetitious, pretty obvious, and, well, pretty easy to spot. Even if we go to the current market where it is now, I don't know if the shorts actually want to come in on this, but if they did want to come in on it, we know that their stop would probably want to be above the highs, and we can draw down to get their 2-to-1 objective down towards the lows, and that looks like a pretty good spot right about there. If we draw the box up and assume that a 3-to-1 would give us our hot pocket, we move that one up a little bit, and that tells us that our hot pocket zone of interest is right inside here. Now, the market did deviate above it a little bit, but now we have a possible transitional phase, a lower high, a retest, and that would be the trigger to drive this thing possibly all the way down to the floor. And the bulls, again, we can measure the opposite side to see where the support's going to come in. Based on that would tell us that we would expect to start seeing it around that 48.50 mark because that's where the buyers will start coming in. So that's going to do it for this one. I hope that helps you understand as to why I am such a huge fan of watching where the algos are and why I talk about algos so much, because even though, yes, they're machines, they're still programmed by humans, and that gives us a little bit of predictability that we can use to our advantage. That's going to do it for this one. If you have any comments or questions or topics for new videos that you want to see, drop them in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. Of course, if you want to sit in with me and the rest of the crew on the VIP side of things, we have our live trade room registration. You can do that right on the main page of SSFTG to register for a 1-week free trial to the VIP room and hang out with me and the rest of the VIPs from 9 in the morning until around lunchtime, 11:30, 12 o'clock or so, whenever lunchtime kicks off when things start slowing down. So you can get more info on that with the trial registration button on the main page of SSFTG. I hope to see you in the room, but until the next one, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all then. Thanks.